I'm Dr. Donald F. Karatko. Nickname is Dr. K, has been my nickname for almost 30 years. I'm the Jack M. Guild Chair of Entrepreneurship and also the Executive Director of the Johnson Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the Kelley School of Business at Indiana University. No, I do not have a musical background. I've always had an interest in music and the arts as well, but personally I do not have a musical background, which I think has been a deficiency in my life, I might add, for all those watching. I am very jealous of all of you that have such great talent. The Johnson Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation really focuses on the second part of the name, really innovation. I think many times a lot of our music students might think, well, I don't know if I really want to be in entrepreneurship, but in many ways you have to understand you are innovators. You are very creative people. And so at the Johnson Center, we try to provide resources for you to in some ways enhance that creativity in the terms of if you were going to start your own venture, your own business around your creative talent. We think that we can give you some advice and some guidance in what it really takes to do that and some of the parameters that are needed for that to happen. Before you pursue a career in music, I would consider exactly what your career path is and be able to be more flexible in that pathway. In other words, I think so many times our creative students like yourselves out there get yourselves focused on one pathway, only one way to do something with your talent. And what I would recommend is a more entrepreneurial way of thinking, innovative way of thinking, and trying to look at different pathways, different potential opportunities, and ways you could use your talent. I think that's extremely important so that as you pursue your career, there might be a lot of different pathways you might be able to look at as you hit different crossroads. And I think that's extremely important. And that is really the entrepreneurial mindset that we want all of you to have. I think it's extraordinarily important for musicians today, as creative as you are and as talented as you are, to have some basic knowledge about the business areas because as much as it seems like the dirty part of the career, in fact, it's the part of the career that can keep you going and enhance yourselves. And so many times I've heard students say, I'll rely on an agent or I'll let some advisor tell me what to do. But in fact, it'd be better if you have some basic knowledge to know, are you on the right pathway? Is the person advising you in the right way? And I think just some basic knowledge of business helps you understand in the areas of contracts, in the areas of trying to get some of these engagements set up for yourselves. I think that's extremely important that you get some basic knowledge of that so you know what you're being guided into as opposed to later on regretting some things you got yourself into. I think first, for all music students, I think that in a broader picture, I really believe that I'd like them all students to have sort of an entrepreneurial mindset, to learn what that means and try to open up their innovative thinking. I think that's a broad-based answer, but I think that's extremely important. Secondly, I think you have to have some basic knowledge on the ideas of setting up a business. What does that mean? What does it mean if you were to build a business around your talent? What are some of the areas of how you market that type of business? How do you legally structure that type of business? And then how do you finance that type of business with revenues coming in and costs going out? Some very basic business principles, but I think in a course like we offer here at the Kelley School of Business, it's called our W300 course. It's called Small Business Management. We try to outline some of those different aspects of business for you. So I think those are some of the basic areas I'd like to see every music student have, and I think we provide some of those courses over here at the Kelley School that I think could really help you in those areas. That's a really good question because I think today I would answer it this way. Most musicians and creative and talented people are so engaged in their own discipline, in what they do best. I think one of the nightmares they get into is they just seemingly get taken down a certain pathway, which is what I was saying earlier, by having an understanding of the different pathways you could choose. And I think too many times they stay too focused on only one area, only one goal in mind, which I think tenacity and persistence and determination is important for that goal, but not having any other fallback ways to look at your career could be very, very, I think, harmful in the long run. So I think that's what I would tell music students. Make sure that as you pursue that goal with tenacity, and I want you to do that, but also be able to have some fallback positions of other opportunities that could come your way. I think that's extremely important. In so many ways, we're reaching out to the Jacob School of Music. We're forming the partnership that we have between the Johnson Center for Entrepreneurship Innovation and the Jacobs School of Music. So the Kelley School of Business is really reaching out and trying to do everything we can to help all of you out there. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, we have a course called W300, which is our small business management course. We also have a course W212, which is exploring entrepreneurship. And these are courses that are open to all students on the campus. And so I think it's obviously for the Jacobs School students very, very important to consider. We also have a minor in entrepreneurship that could be considered. We even have the idea of the bachelor's degree in music with the outside field in entrepreneurship that we created specifically for you out there to look at and to get to understand what's involved with that. So I think we are building a lot of resources that we want to reach out and help you while you're here at Indiana University to be able to, in some ways, enhance your career and prepare you better for the business side of things that, like it or not, you will be involved in your careers. My best career advice to music students and students in general at Indiana University is sort of how we talked about a little bit earlier with some of the other questions. I think that today, in today's world, it's ever-changing. We all acknowledge that. We talk about the pace of change. But I think what we don't do is we don't prepare ourselves enough to immerse ourselves into those changes. And so I think, as I talked about earlier, the entrepreneurial mindset, having a much more of an innovative perspective on your career and what you hope to do and what you could do. In other words, opening up the pathways of possibility is the best advice I would give you, because if you pursue any endeavor with an entrepreneurial mindset in the 21st century, you will find success. There's no question about it. One more thing I'd say about the best career advice, and that would be that most students begin to look at their careers as either or. I mean, that's sort of the way we've always looked at ourselves, as choices. But I think the way we have to look at the 21st century is this has become an era of the and. Not the either or, but the and. In other words, I'm either going to do this or I'm going to do this. Why don't we simply say to ourselves, why can't I do both? Why can't I have both? So always look at the and as the real possibilities in your career, as opposed to always being trapped in the either or. Well, I get excited about that. I think that we have some real potential in the collaborations between the Kelley School of Business and the Jacobs School of Music. I think it's pretty remarkable that we have two of the world's foremost schools in music and in business. And now we're trying to find a partnership together. And I think that in my vision, my dream is that we'll eventually have the Johnson Center have actual space over there in the new Jacobs School Music Instruction building, because we want to physically be part of you. We're not asking you to always come over here to the Kelley School. We want to physically be a part of your school. And we think that is going to be an immense advancement in our partnership than just virtually trying to be partners. I want to physically make sure that we immerse ourselves with you. So once we do that, I think there's a lot more things we can do in building seminars, building on the whole Jumpstart program, which is a phenomenal program. I think there's so many ways that we can enhance the things that are already started, even in the partnership we formed already. Wow, that's a great question. What kind of musician would I be? I admire so many of the musicians, and I feel like I'm going to hurt someone's feelings if I pick one over the other, because I see so many talented musicians, and they do so many things incredibly well. For me, I'm not sure. I think maybe I'd probably be in the horns. I would probably be with the brass. I think that might be something for me that I've always thought would be really neat. So I don't know. That's a really good question. There's so many different areas that I've been very impressed with when I go and see the performances. So again, I would say that I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, because I think that they're so talented in all the different areas they do. The one I know I couldn't do is voice. If you've ever heard me sing, it's horrible, so that's one I know I could never do. And so I really admire those people that are in the voice area that are so great at that. But again, I think that there's so many areas that are creative and innovative in the music world, and I think that that's pretty remarkable what you do. And as I said at the very beginning, I certainly admire all of you, and I have a certain jealousy for the talents that you possess.